Karen's laugh was a chainsaw, loud and grating, slicing through the quiet of our cul-de-sac. She stood on her pristine lawn, hands on her hips, gloating as she accused me of sabotaging her precious golf cart. The neighborhood had endured her reign as HOA president for years. But this was personal. She claimed I'd cut the charging plug off her golf cart, the one she used to patrol our street like a self-appointed sheriff. The truth: she'd done it herself, and I had the video to prove it. But Karen, with her smug grin and unshakable arrogance, thought she could bully me into submission with a lawsuit. She was wrong. It all started 3 months ago, when Karen decided my backyard vegetable garden was an eyesore that violated HOA rules. Never mind that my tomatoes and zucchini were tucked behind a 6-foot fence, invisible to her unless she was snooping with binoculars, which, let's be honest, she probably was. She sent me a violation notice, demanding I rip out the garden or face a $500 fine. I ignored it, figuring she'd move on to harassing someone else about their mailbox color or unmowed grass. But Karen wasn't the type to let things slide. She escalated, showing up at my doorstep with a clipboard and a sneer, lecturing me about community standards while her perfume choked the air. "You're lowering property values, Mark," she said, her voice dripping with disdain. "This isn't a farm. Get rid of that jungle, or I'll make sure you regret it." Her double chin quivered with self-righteous fury, and I couldn't help but notice the golf cart parked in my driveway, her chariot of intimidation, plugged into my outdoor outlet without permission. That's when I started keeping an eye on her. I installed a cheap security camera, the kind you get for $30 on Amazon, pointed at my backyard. It wasn't about the garden anymore. It was about catching Karen in the act. She'd been using my electricity to charge her golf cart for weeks, ever since her own outlet mysteriously stopped working. I'd asked her politely to stop, but she laughed it off, saying, "It's just a little juice. Mark, don't be so stingy." That's when I knew she wasn't just annoying, she was entitled to a degree that defied logic. 2 weeks later, the camera caught gold. At 2 a.m., Karen waddled into my yard, wire cutters in hand, and snipped the charging plug clean off her golf cart. She muttered something about teaching me a lesson before tossing the plug into my garden and stomping off. I couldn't believe it. She'd sabotaged her own cart to frame me, thinking I'd be too spineless to fight back. The next morning, she was at my door again, this time with a police officer in tow, accusing me of vandalism. Her performance was Oscar-worthy: tears, outrage, the whole 9 yards. "He's jealous of my authority," she wailed, pointing a manicured finger at me. The officer, a tired-looking guy named Rodriguez, looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. I showed him the footage. Karen's face went from smug to ashen in seconds, but she doubled down, claiming I'd doctored the video. "He's tech-savvy," she sneered, as if knowing how to use a computer was a crime. Officer Rodriguez wasn't buying it, but Karen wasn't done. She filed a small claims lawsuit against me for $2,000, claiming the cost of a new plug, repairs, and emotional distress. The neighborhood buzzed with gossip. Half the street thought I was guilty. The other half knew Karen was a tyrant. I wasn't about to let her win. The court date was a circus. Karen strutted into the courtroom in a bright pink blazer, her hair teased to high heaven, looking like she'd prepared her speech in front of a mirror for weeks. She laughed when I walked in, whispering loudly to her friend Linda, "He doesn't stand a chance." The judge, a no-nonsense woman with steel gray hair, didn't seem impressed by Karen's theatrics. I presented my case calmly. "The video," Time-stamped and unedited, showing Karen's late-night wire-cutting spree. I added receipts proving she'd been using my electricity for months, racking up my bill while her cart hummed along. Karen's defense was a masterclass in delusion. She claimed the video was deepfake technology, a term she'd clearly Googled 5 minutes before the hearing. She rambled about her dedication to the community and how I was a troublemaker who'd been disrespecting HOA rules for years. The judge raised an eyebrow, unimpressed. "Ma'am, do you have any evidence to support your claims?" she asked. Karen sputtered, producing nothing but a photo of her damaged golf cart plug, as if that proved anything. Then came my counterclaim. I'd done my homework, tallying up the electricity she'd stolen $150 over 3 months, based on average golf cart charging costs. I added $300 for the stress of dealing with her harassment and another $500 for my time preparing for court. The judge watched the video again, her lips twitching as Karen's grainy figure hacked at the plug like a suburban lumberjack. The courtroom was silent, except for Karen's nervous foot tapping. When the judge spoke, her voice was ice. "Ms. Karen, the evidence clearly shows you damaged your own property in an attempt to frame the defendant. This is not only frivolous, but malicious." Karen's smug grin vanished. "I'm dismissing your claim and awarding Mr. Thompson $950 for his counterclaim, plus $250 in court fees. Total, $1,200. Payable within 30 days. The gavel slammed, and Karen's jaw dropped like a cartoon anvil. She tried to argue, but the judge cut her off. "You're lucky I'm not referring this to the district attorney for fraud." The neighborhood didn't let her live it down. By the next HOA meeting, Karen had resigned as president, citing personal reasons. Rumor had it she was selling her house to cover the fine and escape the embarrassment. My garden. Thriving. I even started sharing tomatoes with the neighbors, who now called me the guy who took down Karen. Officer Rodriguez stopped by one day, off duty, to grab a zucchini. "You did us all a favor," he said with a grin. "She's been terrorizing this street for years." What struck me most wasn't the money or the victory. It was the reminder that people like Karen thrive on intimidation, banking on others' silence. But when you stand up, when you gather your proof and refuse to bow, their house of cards collapses. Karen thought she could bully her way to dominance, but all it took was a $30 camera and a spine to bring her down. Her laughter in court, so confident and cruel, was the last she'd get. The $1,200 fine wasn't just a penalty, it was justice, served cold on her desk.